Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves. So then what's next? Like for somebody like you who believes in it, somebody like me who's a libertarian and wants to believe in it, what's next? Do you just let this all shake out over the next year and maybe it's going to come back with some better protocols and maybe even some regulation? Or is like now a buying opportunity?
I would wait. I mean, it depends of your risk appetite. If you're a degen, and even the stock market too, catching the falling knife, I'm sure you know that time, right? Yeah. Like, you know that the end of a upwards movement or downward movement by how sharp the ratio is, right? If it's going straight up or straight down, you know it's about to revert at some point. I think what's going to happen.
Don't know how far straight down.
Yeah,
it's go,
right. And always the last move up or down is always the most violent, right? That's where it could go literally 50, 100, 200%. And if you have an open position, you'll immediately get wiped out. That's what happened to me when I was trading Forex on the presidential election day. Once Trump took the lead, it just like the US dollar just took a complete dive and wiped a bunch of people out. So I think it's best to, if you're not an expert or to just like wait it out and see what happens. I think this time around seems much different because we know crypto is going to succeed. Bitcoin and Ethereum by far are the two winners here. Bitcoin's had the least amount of downside to all of this. Bitcoin and Ethereum are basically the gold and the internet computer, I guess is what you want, if you want to call it, or the number one software with the most culture. Those two to me are 100% going to succeed. Everything else is kind of like to be determined.
Right. So if I was like, all right, I want to believe in this. I think I believe in this. I have the disposable assets because like income's still going good. Maybe I'll put 2, 3, 4, 5% of my savings like every month, just kind of dollar, like let's say I've got $2,000 a month that I'm saving into an account because that's my savings threshold. Maybe take $200 or $300 and just dollar cost it into Bitcoin and Ethereum. That would be your thought.
That's always been my advice. You go through all my podcasts and everybody that I talk to, I always say, first learn Bitcoin, first learn Ethereum. Those two assets have also been signed off by the U.S. government in terms of not being securities. Everything else is still to be determined. And Ethereum, I think, has the most upside overall, but it has a lot of scaling issues and things that it has to work out. It's become a whales game. That's why a lot of the other layer ones like Solana and Tezos and DOT and all these other ones that are going to eventually fall into infamy or capture a small percentage are not as much of a safe bet, I would say. But to me, both of those, Bitcoin, Ethereum, are the most decentralized protocols. The government can't shut them down. There's no off button. They've been proven time and time again. Now this will be Ethereum's second bear market. I guess you could say second and a half, kind of launched in the middle of a bear market to be proven. But it's been tested with all kinds of various attacks, from a software attack to DDoS attack to, like we see, like a financial attack like we saw on Luna. These kind of things are pivotal to determining success. A lot of there's people, they call them the lunatics, unironically. They were there was a lot of animosity on Twitter saying like, how could you do this? We were still growing. But if you participate in any sort of financial market that's not even just crypto, people will test it to see if it's stable. This is what George Soros did with the English pound and pretty much broke the Bank of England.
I mean, this is what we saw in the meme stocks, wiping out a couple hedge funds, short companies.
Yeah, it goes the other way too.
Yeah. You know what does worry me though is like I know a lot of people that bat way above my pay grade, and they're very wealthy. And they looked at crypto as like, all right, I own mobile home parks and stock markets, and I have cash savings, and I have life insurance, and I paid off my house, and now I can kind of like, diddle in crypto a little bit. And I'm not saying they didn't get hurt, but they probably didn't get hurt to the tune of like 100% of their net worth. What scares me is like the younger generation that needs to see the suicide hotline where it's like, they haven't learned that lesson yet of don't put all of your eggs in one basket and have 100% of your 401k in WAMU common stock. Because, in my mind, banks never failed. Like I was in my 20s in 2008, 2009. Like I had never seen a bank fail. I wasn't around for the savings and loan crisis. So like that just made sense to me. And luckily it didn't wipe out everything I had. But from the way that you're talking, there's a fair amount of people that if they're all in crypto, they're all in crypto intellectually, emotionally, what they believe in politics, Like that could potentially be 100% of their net worth gone. And that's a scary proposition. Like I'm never a fan of government regulation, but I'm like, ooh, do we need to save a bunch of like 25-year-old libertarians from themselves?
Janet Yellen came out today and said that she basically said that she observed what's happening, but stable coins aren't large enough to put any sort of the financial system at risk. So I interpreted that as she basically said, you guys are on your own at this point. But there definitely will be some sort of, they're definitely going to use this case with Luna as the poster boy of whatever regulation comes down. Elizabeth Warren hates crypto. There's both sides that equally hate and love crypto.
Right.
So I think this is just a backlash we're going to see. When it comes to stable coins, the only thing they can really do is if they just give it to they hand it off to the banks and say, like, now banks are only allowed to be the issuers, which is unfortunate because that's what we're trying to get away from. That's what Satoshi created, right? When Satoshi created Bitcoin, the first message was Chancellor on the second brink of bailouts, which was the headline in one of the London newspapers when they were bailing out the government or bailing out the corporations again for the second time, even though they're the ones that got us in this situation, which is kind of what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's safe. It gets a lot of hate from inside the crypto community because it's not as innovative, but sometimes you don't want money to be innovative. You just want it to be secure and safe.
I don't need the foundation of my house to be innovative. I just need the concrete to stay in place.
Yeah, there's the crypto trilemma. In college, the trilemma is like you can only have 2 or 3, and it's like sleep, social life, and good grades.
Right.
In crypto, it's like decentralization, security, and throughput, which is essentially speed. So Bitcoin is really good at decentralization and security. And in order to change the protocol, you have to have a 90% vote.
That'll never happen.
It happens very slowly. It's only happened a handful of times in its existence. Where Ethereum's just constantly moving, constantly changing.
Yeah, didn't Ethereum like actually break into 2 at some point a while ago?
It's forked, yes. Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. That was that DAO hack with a rollback. This is the Bitcoin maxi take against Ethereum is that technically it's not a decentralized since within its first year it had a rollback, which is basically like reverting all the transactions, which had to have a vote. Maybe it was needed, maybe it wasn't. I do believe in Vitalik as the leader. He's a very brilliant person.
And like you're saying Vitalik, I'm guessing that's not his real name. Do we know?
No, that is his real name. Vitalik Buterin. Yeah. He created Ethereum when he was 18, 17.
Well, that's disturbing. That makes me feel like an underperformer.
This kid is like an alien. This kid's super brilliant. He's so out of his time. Something happens and then they pull his tweets from like years ago or podcasts or interviews. He's very good at forecasting the future.
So who's the one that made the money, or what is the entity, or what is the class of investors that made all the money off of this? We'll just call it a Luna short. I know it's more technical.
They don't know. No one knows so far. There's rumors. The conspiracy theories have come out and said like BlackRock and Citadel did it, right? Because they're the people behind the meme stocks.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a limited number of financiers in the world who can move $1 billion.
It was $1 billion, yeah, in liquid capital.
Yeah. So it almost can't be a person. Because like all the billionaires also own public companies. You know, I'm thinking of Elon Musk has 2 public companies. Like he can't just have. I can't imagine him. He has $1 billion of liquid cash to put into a hustle or a short.
You'd be surprised in crypto. There are many billionaires that have liquid crypto wealth that can do it. Most of them are pretty public. CZ, who's the founder of Binance, we make the joke that he's the richest person in the world. Might be. He's worth $100 billion outside of his own personal holdings, which the people who were in crypto very early, it's almost impossible to tell how much they own because of the obfuscation of the transactions of how much they actually own. But if you follow like Max Kaiser, that fool's been buying Bitcoin since $1. You know, like a lot of these people are mega billionaires.
The 2 brothers that got hosed by Mark Zuckerberg.
The Winklevoss twins are Gemini. Yeah, they own Gemini.
Don't they own a shit ton of crypto?
120,000 Bitcoin.
Which is times how much? They
bought it for $13 million in 2012. They're actually making a movie about it. So Ben Mesrich, the guy who created Social Network, is writing I read the book. It's called Bitcoin Billionaires. They're making a movie about it. It's basically the sequel to the social network because they were the ones that got screwed, and it's the
Right.
same guy. They're pretty interesting story as well. But they own Gemini. It's probably one of the largest crypto exchanges in America. It's in New York. They're worth a lot of money. There was a stat, I don't know how true it was. It came out a few years ago that once Bitcoin hits $150,000, half of the world's billionaires will be Bitcoin billionaires.
Wow.
And now you have altcoins and stuff. It's probably much higher than that, to be honest.
Wow.
There's so many whales in crypto that's why part of the reason why the speculation of NFTs have gone crazy is we just don't have money to you just can't spend it on anything, right? Every jurisdiction has a different regulation. Some are taxed. Germany just came out today at time of recording, and said that if you hold if you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum for over a year, there's no taxes at all. Now you have El Salvador and a few other countries that have it as legal tender, no tax implications. And then in America, it's classified as property. So it's technically a tax implication, crypto to crypto transaction, crypto to dollar transaction. Most people in crypto know that the governments across the world don't have the resources to pursue everything. And now there's so many different tools like Tornado Cash and coin mixers and stuff to obfuscate and have private transactions to where you really can't figure out all of it. And especially because you could just create a new wallet and put it through Tornado Cash and go through all these different mechanisms. There's going to be some sort of agreement that'll happen. We'll actually see. I mean, that's a lot of money, especially when it comes to NFTs.
Here's my conspiracy theory. I'm thinking about this. We're gonna date this of May 12th, 2022. A good friend of mine, I'm trying to think how much I can say about him because he's still in special forces. We'll just say he's an officer in special forces, and he did a 2-year program in a foreign country where he learned basically about kind of guerrilla warfare and psychological warfare at the country to country level. Very fascinating guy. And I talked to him about Russia, and I'm like, I don't get the Russia thing. And this has been an ongoing conversation over Signal, and he's trying to educate me. And he's like, what you have to understand is that Vladimir Putin knows that because Russia's a dying country. I actually had to look this up. I didn't believe it. Russia only has like 130 million people, and their median age is like 50, and like more people are in adult diapers than baby diapers, and their male population is just crippled with like basically all the drinking problems. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Putin knows, because he came up under that KGB lifestyle, that Russia's always going to be unstable. So if he can destabilize other countries, messing with our elections or starting all these little mini civil wars all over Europe or financial manipulation, if he can be like the least unstable country of all the unstable countries, that's a win for Russia. And people try to think of him through this like lens of stability, like, well, what's he trying to do to stabilize this or do that or take over this land? It's like, no, you don't understand. His whole playbook is to destabilize other major powers because he already knows they're fucked. So if he can fuck everybody else and they're just a little bit more fucked than him. So my theory is going to be that this is like some type of Russian hack where they're just trying to destabilize more of the currency markets. Cause that's like a Russian 101 play. I don't know if they have they definitely have the wealth because of their oil reserves, but I don't know if they have the mind power to do that.
They do.
But I wouldn't put it past them.
They've been behind some hacks. North Korea is actually the most prominent crypto hacker. Kim Jong-un, I think, has confiscated and stolen close to $1 billion in crypto at this point.
Would it be crazy if this all comes out that it's either Putin or Kim Jong-un because they're just trying to like fuck wealth in Western countries?
I wouldn't be surprised. Although crypto is pretty distributed, a lot of capital has migrated over to America, especially with the mining operations when China banned mining and they all moved down to Texas. And now Governor Abbott is saying that Bitcoin mining is going to revolutionize the Texas power grid, and he's using it as like a primary piece of his policy. There's you can say they would do it, but to me, to understand the complexity of what was really going on behind that, it'd be hard for me to say it's a bad actor. I mean, to take a loan out or to have the liquid capital of $1 billion to then go about different ways of attacking it and understanding it at the right time, to me, being able to time that to when they were moving liquidity from the three pool to the 4 pool on Curve, there's maybe, I don't know, a few hours in between that happening, and they'd literally start doing $100 million clips at a time, millions of dollars of clips at a time in certain intervals. You have to be watching that the entire time, and you have to understand what's really happening on. Although Do Kwon is talking publicly about all this stuff. You know, maybe it's not as complex as I think, but
Right.
it's somebody who'd been watching it for a long time to understand it. And to me, I think it's more so people in crypto annoyed with him as being a sore winner, which nobody likes, right? If you're winning, cool. But if you're gonna gloat about it and tell everyone they're poor while doing it, like,
Yeah.
Never attack, never put a vendetta on the internet. I think it's been proven now through this and through GameStop, Wall Street Bets and all of this, that the combined mind power of the internet is going to overpower pretty much anybody, any institution, every government, right?
Have you seen that Netflix special, Don't Fuck with Cats?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
A woman lives out here in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, go watch the Netflix special. It's like some horrific video of like a dude killing a cat, and then the internet basically just cumulatively mind sourced, like, we got to find this guy. And they're like, where are those dumpsters made? What kind of outlet was in his house? So then we can narrow it down to the country of origin. And they found the guy, right?
Yeah, I think he ended up killing a person too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like he was putting gay ads on Craigslist looking for like somebody to hook up with. I believe he killed one person, and then they caught him on the way to do it to a second person.
Wow. All from killing a cat and putting it on the internet.
Yeah, this happens consistently on the internet.
Just fuck with the internet, man.
Just participating in internet culture, and more specifically NFT culture, has just given me such a different perspective on where the world is going, and how the internet culture is just, it's this melting pot of intellectual capital and social capital. But crypto possesses this unique trait, which didn't start in crypto. I believe it might have started at 4chan, of this like pseudonymous nature where most people, if you go on my podcast, most people that I have on the show are anonymous behind a screen. It's literally just me, only me, and then just like a blank screen talking to a voice. Most people protect their anonymity because they don't want to be a product of prejudice. And if you aren't able to even subconsciously discriminate against somebody because they're man, woman, color, whatever, social status or wealth, the conversation is much different. It, to me, becomes less about the trolls. Yes, there are trolls, but it becomes more of this community aspect where people can fill their roles in a faster order. And what I mean by this is watching through the NFT communities. This NFT product is spun up, right? I'm just going to use a basic art product. It's spun up, and then within legit a few days, because crypto is 24/7, the community somehow coordinates the way for these people have strengths with media. So this person's going to do a podcast for it. This person is going to contact all of his publication resources. These 10 people are in the dev team. So this person could be a front end dev. This person could be a smart contract dev. This person could do this. And within a few weeks, the community figures out everyone's roles. Like, it's like natural. I've never seen anything like this happen. And then watching the people in NFT specifically go from 0 followers to 100,000 followers in the matter of like months, it just does not exist. It to me, it even beats the idea of like virality, because when you have a viral video, right? You're like the girl that's like, "Cash me outside, bitch," or whatever it is. People follow her because they hate her. Where in crypto, people follow them because they believe in them. So it's almost like the combination of like virality and intellectual capital just being like given out. And I don't think this is going to slow down. Yes, we're going to be probably stagnant for a little while. But also seeing the idea of like, we'll talk about like the idea of value, right? Like, what is value? The US dollar is backed by nothing. Is US dollar backed by oil? Is it backed by the military? Whatever. I learned this through like the antique store too, is same with NFTs. A non-fungible asset, you always have to match up a buyer with a seller. It's different from trading fungible assets like currencies where everything could be replaceable. There's always liquidity. So in the NFT market, every transaction has some sort of social capital to it. If Gary Vee is selling you an NFT, it's probably worth more because, oh, you're buying it from Gary Vee, right? Or this anonymous person, or this person has a weird meme number. Meme numbers and numerology is really popular in NFTs. If it's funny because somebody will bid on something, right? Let's say you have something listed at 10 ETH because everything's priced in ETH. somebody will bid one ETH, and then they'll come to a middle, but they'll use numerology and numbers. It's interesting. So then this person will bid 6.9. This person will bid 4.2. Then this person will bid like 5.544 or 5.4321. This person will go like 420, and then they'll like settle on like some meme number in numerology. And because it's 24/7, this interaction is rapid. It's much faster. I saw a stat. I think Sotheby's put this out, or Christie's, one of the auction houses, that the average hold time of somebody in the traditional art market is 30 years, but in NFTs, 30 days. Just because of like it's also speculation, but they're basically just, to me, it says that the art is trading hands faster because there's a marketplace to where somebody can put it up there and sell it immediately, rather than having to go through this auction house and they take 20%. When I sold at Sotheby's, there's a 20% buyer's premium, which to me, of course, great for me because I don't have to pay the tax on it. But whoever's paying on the other end, like, fuck, that sucks. You have to pay a high price plus 20% to Sotheby's for doing it. Like that's brutal. And this is why the auction houses have not been able to find product market fit, because of that high tax.
So on the NFT, let's go back to your cats, your Gemini cats.
Mooncats,
sorry. The person who originally made those, did they see any value in those transactions? Or it's like they created them, they put them out there, they forgot about them. Maybe they sold them to somebody for $1 because they're like, oh, this is the silly shit that I did. But because of their age, they're turning over every 30 days and gaining traction and gaining momentum. Like, does the original owner of that cat, do they have any value?
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up. This is, I think, one of the winning points of NFTs is perpetual royalties.
Oh.
So mooncats was the first or second, depending on who you ask, generative art that was ever created on a blockchain. Generative art existed before NFTs. Basically, it's just art that was created by an algorithm. So these cats, there was 4 billion potential possibilities, and they ended up with 25,000 because of the combination of like pose and color spectrum and all the different traits. Basically, what you can do is you could tie royalty on. So anytime it trades hands, you get a percentage of that transaction. So it started out at 1% for the older projects. Mooncats does 2.5%. It's gotten upwards of 10%, which is, to me, just like ripping people off, because now flippers, you're kind of like segmenting the flippers away from trading. Flippers provide liquidity, but if you're taking a 10% hit on selling it, like why, like, and then you have to pay taxes.
So do we know who created the mooncats?
Yeah, they came back. It's a team called Ponderware. It was 2 guys. Now it's a little bit of a larger team.
So they've made 1% every time these have sold. They're
2.5% on every transaction.
They're just getting a transfer of Ethereum into their wherever, and they're just getting money every time these sell now.
Yeah, so if you want to go to the most extreme level, we could talk about Bored Apes, right? This is the most popular collection.
Tell me about this silliness.
So Bored Apes actually have I think it's 2.5%. Royalty might be 3.
These are the apes smoking cigars and like getting stoned.
Yeah, so there's 10,000.
There's 10,000 apes?
10,000, yeah. That's like the standard collection is 10,000. That was set by CryptoPunks, which is also one of the most popular collections. So Yuga Labs, which is the dev team behind Bored Apes, they're getting, I think, 3%. Pretty much they made $100 million in royalties just off of them trading back and forth, right? A Bored Ape sells for $2 million, you get 3% of that $2 million.
And what is the intrinsic value of the Bored Ape?
So this is the primitive value we go into for this. Bored Apes, it obviously was born in speculation as the market goes crazy. It's moved into, to me, and the crazy thing with NFTs is everyone has a different opinion of everything because it's still trying to mature.
Right.
To me, it's a branding and marketing company. I would, if there's anything to equate it to, it is also a technology company. It started out as a Supreme of NFTs.
Same reason somebody would pay $200 for a T-shirt.
But
then it's a limited run T-shirt, so then you resell on eBay for $500, and then.
But here's the caveat though, is that since it's a NFT, since it's a token, you can apply technical practices to it. So you can have what's called token gated rooms. So whoever owns a Bored Ape, you could be behind this chat room where you have to have the Bored Ape to be in this room. And in this room, you have Steph Curry and Madonna and Von Miller and Post Malone and all these other people.
It's just a new gatekeeper.
And so now, yeah, so you're basically paying to be a part of the boys' club, the women's club or the club. But the price started at 0.08 ETH. I think it was $200 to mint it originally. And now, since the price has come down, I think it's 90 ETH, so it's about 150K for the cheapest one. But for some people, now we're getting into speculation and human psychology. How much to you is it worth having pretty much unlimited access to all of these superstars, whether they respond or not? But now you're in this room of only 10,000 other people. Is having access to Von Miller and Jon Stewart and all these people worth $150,000? There's people who pay $100,000 to go to masterminds, you know? So, like, some people evaluate it that way. But then now they're creating a game and a universe, and they're airdropping tokens and creating money out of thin air and all these other aspects. But that's kind of how it started, is just from social signaling.
And what do you call that? The mechanism that allows you to get in the chat room or have the dinner with?
Token gated.
Okay. So this kind of makes sense to me because I heard somebody explaining to Quentin Tarantino. They're explaining to Quentin Tarantino why NFTs. And they said, hey, Quentin, that picture that everybody has ripped off of John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson with the guns pointing down right before they assassinate the guy. And he's like, if I had a penny for every time that picture was on a T-shirt or bootlegged or whatever, I'd be a billionaire, right? So they said, great. They're like, what if you sold, frames from your movie as it could be proven to be the only frame of that film sold by, MGM probably owns the rights now or whoever owns the right, Lionsgate or whatnot. And from now until you die, once a year by owning this NFT, you get to do an annual dinner with Quentin Tarantino and talk about movies and whatnot. And he's like, oh, you could bake that into the piece of art. And they're like, yeah, you pick 10 still frames from I think he's only going to do 11 movies. That means there's only 110 people in the world that get to have dinner with Quentin Tarantino once a year and watch, his favorite film. And then I got it. Then I was like, oh, okay, this is the new cigar club, that you have to pay to be a private member to. This is the new Omnia getting behind the velvet rope, right? Like, that makes sense to me if there's some functionality alongside of it. But just the piece of art, I'm like, I didn't get it. I didn't get the apes.
There are pure art. I think most people in Bored Apes, and the reason why I didn't buy Bored Apes is because I just didn't like the art.
Right.
Most of it's not about the art. It's about everything else that comes with it, the social network, the social signaling. So there's the most speculative and the most volume in terms of NFTs is what's called PFPs, profile pictures. And basically it's just you take that NFT, which now you can verify to prove that you own it, as your profile picture on Twitter. And so it's essentially a digital Rolex, right? You have an NFT that's worth $1 million as your profile picture. People are going to follow you because they associate wealth with power, whether you believe it's actually true or not. That's kind of just human psychology.
Right.
So if you look on NFT Twitter, which is just like the NFT community on Twitter, most followers or most NFT people that have the most followers have a Bored Ape as their picture, just because they believe, oh, you made one good decision in your life, so maybe you have more, so maybe I should believe you. That's kind of where it is, but then it becomes, it's grown. So a few weeks ago, I was invited to MGM down here in Las Vegas. They just released their first NFT with the Jabberwockies. And with this VIP pass, the ticket was an NFT itself that was scanned. I'm putting a video out on my YouTube in a few weeks about it. But also, the NFT had other perks with it. It came with a $100 bar tab. It came with preferred seating, early venue access, and I got to meet the Jabberwockies afterwards because I had that NFT, and then I got like swag with it afterwards. And so this was their first experience, and then they sent another NFT that's like kind of like an art version of the Jabberwockies, but it's a GIF. It's a 15-second video because that's what you can do with NFTs. You can store anything on the blockchain that can be a data file, essentially. That the more data that it's composed of, the higher the gas fee, and yada yada yada. So this is why I believe that Vegas is going to be an NFT hub or an NFT capital. The city of Las Vegas is on board. The Gaming Control Board is on board. A lot of people in the city believe it because right now NFTs are most closely related to social status, experience, membership, and what is Vegas?
All
those things.
I mean, it's like the guy that pays $250,000 to have the seat at the club that overlooks the water fountain at the Bellagio. And it's like, well, if all of a sudden there was an NFT that you could buy for $1 million and it would guarantee you always get the best booth at the club and you always get private entrance and it's a big show. Everybody knows that the fucking deaf monkey is there, or dumb monkey or bored monkey or whatever. It's like, it's social status with some perks. It's like, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Social status with tech. You're just you're just creating a fluid market. Because we'll stay on the club for a second. The relationship between a VIP host and the guest that's paying, it's just a social contract. At any point, if the relationship goes sour, then they can tell them the fuck off. But if you have that NFT, that's basically your ticket, that's verified through a smart contract. Now you can prove it, but then you could also sell it to anybody, and then the casino can win as well, or the host. Let's say Omnia and the host create a contract where they say this NFT represents this specific table at the nightclub this day of the week. And now the host gets 1% every time it's sold and the club gets 3% on the royalties. And so let's say the guest can't go because something came up in life. They could just sell it to somebody else for a higher value, right? Maybe this person thinks that the value of this table for the night is a $10,000 minimum, but then the next person will pay $15,000 because he's richer and doesn't care. Now everyone wins in this situation. It's similar to, I was talking with a nonprofit here. We were talking about integrating NFTs into their nonprofit business, and they do auctions. And the cool thing with nonprofits, and I think this is going to revolutionize nonprofits, is that the money's generally allocated, right? Most people who are donating, it's a tax write-off. You have it allocated different reasons. Let's say you can sell an NFT that becomes a one-of-one experience with the donor. So this place, one of their big donors was Mackenzie Bezos, who was married to Jeff Bezos. How much will somebody pay to have lunch with her, right? Some people may think it's 100,000. Some people may think it's 1 million. So if they go to the auction and it sells, but you had to buy the NFT at the auction you had to be there. Maybe it sells for 50,000 because not everyone's very wealthy. This person, this nonprofit could put a perpetual royalty on it. This person then goes and sells it to Joe Schmo for $500,000 because that person thinks that it's worth $500,000. So now you're letting the free market also dictate what the actual price is.
With the forever royalty.
So then it always goes back to the original distributor of the token.
I'm thinking of my buddy Josh and I, like, what would we pay for an NFT? And I'm big Guns N' Roses fan. He's a huge Pearl Jam fan. Another reason I'm sad I'm in.
I saw Guns at Allegiant.
Yeah. So did I. Another reason I'm sad I'm going to be in Cabo because he's coming up here to go to the Pearl Jam concert. If Pearl Jam released an NFT that was like, hey, we're going to sell this for $100,000 and any concert we ever have anywhere in the world, just show up, scan your NFT and you're front row. Like, I think my buddy would pull $100,000 out of his home equity line of credit and buy it, knowing not only is this going to be a world-class experience for him, assuming Eddie Vedder doesn't die, he could sell it in 3 years when he's burnt out on Pearl Jam concerts for probably $150,000, and Pearl Jam gets their 5% royalty again. And it's like, well, we already made our fucking money, and now we're just making more money. And it's really fascinating. Of course, my mind goes to the fraud of like what happens when the Omnia goes out of business or Eddie Vedder dies, and it's like then they have to renege on the value of the NFT. It's like, well, does it just disappear into obscurity, or now do you put it up on the wall and now you have a Van Gogh?
Yeah, that would be interesting because maybe it plays into the pricing of it, right? As Pearl Jam gets older in age, when they're selling it, the person on the other side's like, maybe this is only lasting another 2-3 years. I'm not going to pay $100,000. Used it for 3 years. Maybe I'll give you $70,000 for it.
Right.
Coachella actually did this. They sold a few lifetime Coachella passes. This pass also comes with artist access. I think you get to be in like the booth on the main stage for your entire like life, basically the lifespan of Coachella, and a bunch of other private access. I think it sold for like $100,000.
I feel like I was just going to ask you, what did that sell for? Because I feel like there is some huge arbitrage. Now I'm thinking financially, huge arbitrage here, because let's say you buy that for $100,000, you enjoy Coachella for 2 or 3 years. In 4 years, there's going to be some artist who we don't even know who they are yet, where somebody is willing to pay $500,000 to have a VIP with 20 years from now.
Yeah, Justin Bieber.
Miley Cyrus's daughter is more famous than she is. And it's like some super fans like, oh, this is worth $500,000 to sit on stage when she does her set at Coachella. Like, I feel like if you could attach your cart to the right horse, there's some crazy arbitrage opportunities with the experience, because somebody will always pay buku bucks for an experience.
Yeah, that's it. It's the social contract right now, because we're so early. There is some sort of like manual transactions and stuff that has to go on the back end. Eventually, everything's going to be automated. So I'll give you a really cool project from a local, Justin Blau. He's a world famous DJ. He's from Las Vegas. DJs all the nightclubs. He's an NFT pioneer. He first started Our Music Festival in LA, which was like the first NFT music festival before NFTs were really popular. He created a music platform called Royal. Royal is still early. Basically, his first song called Worst Case that he put on there, he took 50% of the royalties and issued 333 NFTs against it. And then he owns the other 50%. And if you own, let's say you own, I don't know, half of those 333, if you own 150 of them, 160 of them, then you'll get 25% of royalties forever on that song. Obviously, it's manual now, and the only things tied in is Spotify and Spotify and whatever the other Apple Music. But eventually in the future, it's going to be automated. So let's say when this music royalty systems comes out, the owners of the NFTs will vote, and somebody, let's say a music company comes in and says, I want to use Worst Case in this music video. Here's a proposal. I'll pay 10 ETH to the owners of the NFTs to use the song, and then the people that own it will vote on it, and then the money gets distributed through a smart contract. Like, those are the kind of things that can happen. It's still early, and that's part of the speculation. But also with NFTs, and here's like going even one step further into like the metaverse, which is like a big buzzword. No one really knows what the metaverse means. To participate in this like tokenized metaverse, everything that's non-fungible will be an NFT. So if in this room, a car is an NFT, I own car NFTs, obviously art NFTs. And so in this tokenized metaverse world, in order to hang a painting on the wall in your metaverse, if this was a podcast room in the metaverse, you'd have to own the NFT to it, right? Or else you can't upload it, because it's Web3. It's NFT enabled. And so you'll have to own those NFTs to participate in it. So I have a collection called Ether Lambos, which was like one of the first car NFTs. And to me, only 1,600 of these exist. In a metaverse that's going to have billions of people as like the first car collection, you could take these NFTs, and once people build on it, because crypto is open source, I'll be driving around one of 1,600 of the first ever cars created in this metaverse. That's literally a Lambo. Like, what?
Do you mind if I ask who you bought it for?
How much?
What you bought it for?
2 ETH at the time.
So
it was like
$5-6
grand or something like that.
So you have a digital Lambo that's like one of the first car collections, and theoretically, if this plays out the way that we think it could be, there might be a day where a Lambo in the metaverse is worth $300,000.
Yeah, there's land that's sold for millions of dollars. It's obviously speculation, but you think of like the programmability of NFTs versus the physical counterpart to it. So if you have a real Lambo and a NFT Lambo, we call it Web 2 versus Web 3. There's things that are similar. You can buy and sell them. You could loan against them. There's different varieties of you could destroy both of them theoretically, but in different ways. But what you can't do with this Lambo is, with the NFT Lambo, I could hang it up as digital art, right? Because it's a wall. There's no physical limitations in the metaverse, so I can hang it up and have a piece of art. I can build the 3D construct to it and drive it around. I can make it fly. You know, there's all these different things that you could just take your imagination and apply to it that could be possible. And so I could rent it out. I can't duplicate it, but I could commercialize it. And so there's a lot of things that exist in Web 2 that you can apply to Web 3, but then there's things that are only Web 3 that you could do with the NFT counterpart to it.
Well, and the thing is, the real physical Lambo, eventually it's going to depreciate. You're going to crash it. The seals are going to break. The rubber is going to deteriorate. The paint's going to fade. But an NFT is in day one condition forever.
Forever, yeah.
Interesting.
There is this meme that had been posted around, but it's kind of true. they took a $3 million Bored Ape and they compared it to a $3 million home, and it said, which one would you rather have? Obviously, looking at it, you're like, this is ludicrous, right? I'd rather live in this mansion than have this Bored Ape. But then in the comments, they put like upkeep cost for the mansion, property tax, all of these different things. And to like upkeep of that mansion was like $100,000 a year.
Right.
And then for this Bored Ape, it's literally there's nothing. You just hold it, right? There's no tax unless you sell it, but there's no property tax. There's no any of this that's been figured out. Maybe in the future, the jurisdictions apply property tax to whatever. That's going to be a whole different conversation. But then you start thinking about it and you're like, if this is a digital asset, then maybe it is worthwhile. I like to say that at least in this current state, that I would rather, and a lot of people are probably going to slap me as your real estate agent. I like to say that I'd rather rent physical assets and own digital assets at this current environment. I think owning digital assets has much higher upside than owning a physical asset. And if I rent it, then I don't have to participate in the upkeep costs of something, right? In my apartment, if the washing machine breaks, then the landowner comes in and has to fix it. But in the digital world, if I'm owning this, I'm capturing the upside, and I don't have to have the upkeep cost for it.
Well, what's most interesting to me is I've got a friend. His name is Chris Lockhead. He's like a marketing genius. And what's funny is like he's in his late 50s, early 60s. He really gets this at a high level, which is kind of weird when you think of like an older gentleman or an older person in America getting it. And he does a great podcast on marketing and like finding your niche. And he's been like the chief marketing officer for a bunch of companies that have gone public. Really fascinating guy. I need to have him on the podcast again. And he's trying to convince companies. He's like, no, what you don't understand is basically everybody over 30 is an analog native, and they're analog first, and the digital world is a distraction to them. But anybody pretty much under 30 is digital native first, and analog is a distraction for them. So, and he's used a lot of great examples of this. He said like the De Beers company that makes all the diamonds in the world. He's like, if they don't pivot soon, they're fucked, because people over 30, they want a physical diamond. People under 30, they want an NFT of that diamond that maybe tracks all the major milestones in their marriage, and maybe you could upload other photos to that NFT so that he's like, what's a more powerful experience for a 25-year-old when they're thinking about their marriage? When I die, my granddaughter gets this diamond that has no value to them, or they get an NFT of this diamond that shows the history of their grandparents' relationship. And when he said that, I got it. And I was like, oh yeah, like we're going to get to a point where like owning a 400 or renting a 400 square foot studio is like, yeah, of course that's what you would do, because I'm a multimillionaire in the digital landscape. Which is weird, because if you think about it now, like you meet somebody in person, you're physically attracted to them, then maybe you Google them to see like what their baggage is. But in the future, it'll be like your online dating profile is way more important. And then if I can kind of handle what you look like physically, maybe we can get it on. It's such a weird landscape we're entering in the mindset of people being an analog native versus a digital native. And am I reading this right? Is this why?
I preach on this. I talk about this many times through speeches and podcasts and tweets. There's a popular example, and this is what got a handful of regulators on board to kind of really conceptualize. Most people have a son or a daughter who, if they're under 15, then they play Fortnite or they play Roblox or Minecraft. Every single person has said, yeah, my son or daughter has paid for clothing or skins in this game, right? But if you're in Roblox or if you're in Fortnite and you pay $100 for this skin, right, it's completely digitally native. But Fortnite actually owns the skin. Fortnite could shut the game off. They could repossess the skin. But if the skin is an NFT that is interoperable between other games, then I could wear this Las Vegas Golden Knights jersey in Roblox. I could go wear it in Fortnite. I could go wear it in Call of Duty or whatever other games. That to me makes a lot of sense, because it's funny, the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, his story of why he created Ethereum is like a very millennial kind of experience. It's funny. He created Ethereum because he had been leveling up his Warlock in World of Warcraft for years, and Blizzard repossessed it from him for some sort of violation. And he said that he was so angry and so frustrated with what had happened, he realized the power and the necessity for decentralization and for users to be able to own whatever digital assets that they're interacting with. If he owned the Warlock, then he could theoretically play it in other games where then they can't repossess it from them, like banning your account. And this is like a powerful idea that is kind of just echoed through NFTs and through the digital world, and understands the power of like circling it all back all to like what digital ownership is.
Yeah.
Understanding that it's never happened before that you could prove that you own something digital online that's not centrally owned. Facebook, if you go to Web 2 companies, Facebook, Google, Netflix, Instagram, yada, 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 they all own your data. And we've known that data is the new oil. It's one of the most powerful currencies in the entire world. And we see this happen where, you log on to Facebook and you start looking, or you go on YouTube, you look up cute dog pictures, and you go on Facebook, and now suddenly it's all like dog advertisements. That's because they own your data. If you no, you're good. If you own your own data, though, then you can have the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, I'll sell my data to Facebook. I'm down for personalized advertisements, but you're gonna have to pay me for it. Or I could just have like a complete like private experience on whatever I want. That's like what Web3 really is giving the power back to the individuals, not just from a financial standpoint, which is what Bitcoin did with being a self-sovereign. But now you could take all of your data, all your services, and you could put it in a wallet, and you can sell your services as an NFT, or you can browse these websites privately and securely without having the fear that the U.S. government's tracking you, or they're gonna hack your wallet and repossess everything that you own.
You're making me see the light on some of this stuff. Like, I see a future where when both my kids were born, I went to Gmail and I did GabrielToroGroves@gmail.com, because I'm like, eventually they're going to be out of email and you're going to have to be GabrielToroGroves9732 from LA@gmail.com. I could see a future where it's like your kids are born and you're like, oh, I got to go register him as an NFT, because if I don't register Gabriel as an NFT, people are going to start tracking his data, and I want him to own all his data. And one day at 18, he can decide like, oh yeah, I want to sell all of my data. I want to plug into whatever the new Facebook is that's NFT driven. And yeah, I will allow you to sell my data, but every time you do, I get 7 cents on the dollar or something like that. I'm seeing a future for this that I didn't see before our conversation. So I appreciate that.
You are 100% on pace, because the exact thing you just said is the hottest trend in NFTs right now. There's what's called .eth addresses. So we know .com, right? There's it's .eth, ENS, Ethereum domain service, and basically people are going in and buying up every .eth domain service under
.ets,
.eth. So I own Jake Gallen.eth. I own like 50 to 100 different.
Can you buy these on like GoDaddy, or do you have to go?
You have to go through Ethereum name service. Yes.
Chris, let's look that up.
And a lot of people are going and buying. This has been around. ENS has been around since 2017. So a lot of the good names are gone. They just passed 1 million registrations, and it's rented out similar to like .com services as well. People are going in and buying everything. So I own like a lot of the hospitality stuff. I own crazyhorse3.eth. I own little darlings.eth, which are strip clubs out here. I own like barback.eth, bottlegirl.eth, all these, because I'm like, eventually they're going to have to, somebody's come for this, but it's not going to be just your website in the future. It's these .eths are also going to be your handle on social media. So,
totally.
Like when you go into a website, it says sign in with Facebook, sign in with Google, whatever. Soon it's going to say sign in with Ethereum, and you're going to sign in with your ENS. And instead of like when you sign in with Facebook, basically what you're doing is you're signing in with the data that Facebook has stored, and then you're basically allowing whatever app that you're interacting with to then view the data and analyze it. Here in Web3, you're signing in with your wallet. That's the only thing they know is the assets that are in your wallet. So it's non-discriminatory. They don't know your personal data. They're determining the data based off of the other NFTs and things that exist inside of your wallet. So the .eth, I own JakeGallen.eth. I'm going to have, right now I could route it to where if you type in JakeGallen.eth, it goes to JakeGallen.com, which is my website. But whenever decentralized social media comes up, it's all going to be JakeGallen.eth as well. So now you have these weird trends too of like people are owning numbers. That's like the big trend of like owning, you could go smallest of three characters.
Right.
So a lot of people are buying, so like there's digits that are like 111 is selling for like 11 ETH. because people are saying in the future, if you give somebody, because it's going to be your website, it's going to be your social media handle, but it's also your financial wallet. So right now, wallet addresses it's a 26 hexadecimal, it's just numbers and characters randomly. There is this interesting conversation where it's like, okay, if I tell somebody, yeah, you could send.
Keep talking. I'm gonna literally pee my pants.
You're good. If you're gonna tell somebody that you if you want somebody to send you, let's say 10 ETH, because we're operating off of the financial system of the future, then if I tell them send it to jakegallen.eth, then it becomes a conversation of like, oh, how do you spell Gallen? I spell Gallen with Gallen. Most people will probably say Gallon.eth, and then if they send it to that, then it goes to the wrong person. So then it's led to this interesting discussion of, oh, if I just register abc.eth, that's much easier to tell people than it is to try to say your name of whatever weird characters and spelling that it is together. So these low digit numbers between 000.eth to 999.eth are literally selling for 20 ETH at a time, because people are saying like, yeah, that's easier to say 111.eth than it is to say jakegallen.eth and have to go through the explanation. So
totally. I mean, this is just like selling websites back in the day. You know, people that got lucky and registered Pepsi.com or whatever before anybody realized there was a website need. They crushed it.
Yeah, I think the highest sale so far is porn.eth. I think sold for like 100 ETH.
Yeah.
But now Instagram's trying to buy their handle. They've been sending bids, and this person's like, I'm not going to sell it for what you're trying to get for. Budweiser is actually really early to the game. They bought beer.eth for 20 ETH, and you could do this thing called subdomains. So they have Anheuser-Busch.beer.eth, and then they have Budlight.beer.eth, and so then they're all under the beer.eth. And you could basically rent out these subdomains. So this is kind of like one of the reasons why I went and tried to register as many strip clubs as I could as possible in Vegas. Crazy Horse 3 or Little Darlings are going to have Sapphire or whatever the stripper's name, Ruby.crazyhorse3.eth is going to be her wallet address if she wants her guests.
Pay right there.
So I could just rent it to her. And I'll say, yeah, I'll take 1% or 2% of your profits to rent to them. Or I sell it to Crazy Horse and rent it to Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse subleases it to them.
Dude, I could talk about this stuff all night. I know you got to go, but we've got to have you on for a second episode, like whenever it's convenient for you, because we didn't even get to like I made like 10 notes here of stuff questions I want to ask you, but I know your time is valuable and you got to get. I
appreciate it. Yeah, next time if I didn't have to go anywhere, we could literally sit here and talk for 5 hours.
Like, I know,
I'm all about it.
The NFT thing is just so fascinating to me, because it's really conversation with you, conversation with my buddy Chris Lockhead, some things I've seen online. It's opening my mind to like, oh yeah, this is the future of solving, because I always think like, what's the problem that's going to be solved by this product or thing? It solves the product of what everybody's bitching about right now of, I have no privacy. Facebook has all my data. I can get hacked. I can get doxxed. Like we're seeing it right now with the Supreme Court. Like they doxed the address of the Supreme Court justices, which kind of scares the shit out of me. No matter which party's protesting, it's like, you could see a future where government services are NFT'd so that it just hides behind a wallet. It's like, the application seems endless. Mm-hmm. So
and privacy is coming, and also too, there's a lot of people in crypto who have their public their public identities out, but they also operate multiple pseudonymous accounts as well. So you can compartmentalize different areas of your life through these different accounts based off of what you want to give in public. A lot of people, they'll trade through a public wallet, but then they'll have multiple anonymous wallets, because people front run them. So if I go buy some things, a lot of people in the historical NFT community watch my wallet. So then they'll say, oh, Jake's buying this. A bunch of people will buy it, which then jacks up the price. But if I go buy it through like a different anonymous wallet and then send it to my public wallet, then people don't have the ability to like front run you.
Next time you come over, we're buying some NFTs.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to do it. All right, man. Hey, thanks for being on, and we're going to have you back on real quick so we can dive into more of this.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.